Today, we're heading out to take on the newest park run in South Australia. And not only that, we're ticking off a big milestone in our Alphabet Challenge, which is our very first D. So we're going to head over to Drage Reserve PARKRUN, and I'm going to be telling you everything that you need to know about this park run whilst also trying to achieve my fastest time. So let's get into it. Drage Reserve PARKRUN is located within Drage Reserve, which is northeast of the Adelaide CBD in South Australia. And as I was saying earlier, it is just their 57th event, which makes it the newest park run here in South Australia. The park run is described as a flat one-lapper all on surface path, so therefore I recommend wearing road shoes, and it'll be interesting to see whether by the end of the video you believe that this one should be described as slightly hilly or not, because there are some inclines and declines towards the end of this park run, so we'll have to see what you think by the end of the video, and you'll have to let us know down in that comment section below. It also starts at 8 AM like all of the other park runs here in South Australia, and it is also good to know that it is buggy/pram friendly, it is dog friendly too, and there are public toilets literally located right next to the start line. So in terms of facilities, this is a really good park run for it. In terms of how busy the park run is, there were 260 runners on the day, which I'd say is pretty average for a park run. However, it is quite restricted, the path, so I highly recommend getting out near the front if you are looking for a PB. And in terms of whether you're going to get a PB or not at this course, I'd say it's not very likely, as the brother park run to this one, or the sister park run, is actually only 1 kilometre away, which is called Lochiel Park Run, and I actually got my PB over there, and I'd say that one's a lot quicker than this one. However, this one's just as beautiful as the other. So in terms of the scenery, you're basically running alongside the Yatala River, which is actually beautiful with all the birds squawking from all the trees and stuff. So it is quite cool running through all of that wildlife, and you're running around a few parks and stuff. So it is a very pretty park run, but like I was saying earlier, because it is slightly hilly in my opinion, I think this one is more difficult to Lochiel, which is basically along the same river. And now let me take you through a quick summary of Drage Reserve PARKRUN as you set off towards the east and you head your way around Felixstowe Reserve. This is all flat until you pass where you started, and this is where the undulation starts. You'll do a U-turn at the far end, head your way back towards the start, and you have an elevation gain of approximately 25 metres and a max elevation of 47 metres. So that is a quick summary of the course, but now let me take you through it in just that little bit more detail as you start off here within the Drage Reserve and head your way towards the east. So it's all really flat to begin with, but it is very congested at the start, so make sure to get out near the front if you are looking for a quick time. You're then going to do a lap of the Felixstowe Reserve with some swooping turns, so thankfully there's no sharp turns, which is nice, and then do a left-hand turn and head your way back towards where you started. So when you pass this start point is when it gets a little bit more undulating. So you're going to drop down underneath the Osmond Giles Road Bridge and then head your way all the way back up towards Church Street Reserve. It's going to continue its undulation as you follow the Yatala River and past the Southern Phoenix Reserve before heading your way back under the Ascot Avenue Bridge. And then once you do the U-turn, which is located here, it is then an uphill battle after the U-turn as you make your way back towards the Southern Phoenix Reserve. And then again, you're just following the exact same path all the way back to where you started. So it's not really a challenging one in terms of knowing the course, because there's not too many directions which you can go in. You're just following the same path the whole way around. And as you will see a little bit later on too, it does get pretty undulating. So that's why I think this one should be described more as a slightly hilly or undulating course rather than it being flat. But now you've got an idea of what the course looks like, let me take you through some incredible park run records which have been set here at Drage Reserve PARKRUN. Starting off with the fastest male, who is Dan Kamak, with a time of 16 minutes and 42 seconds, which is incredibly fast. The fastest female is Emma Galds with a time of 18 minutes and 52 seconds. So again, an unbelievable time set there, with the average number of runners being around 202. So I think we got a little bit unlucky with 260 runners this weekend, and then the average time is about 34 minutes and 10 seconds, which I'd probably say is about average for an average time at the park runs that we've been to. And just before we get into the run, let me show you my overall park run stats, starting off with the number of park runs which I've done, which is 103 at 79 different locations. So today it's going to be location number 80. My best finish position was 4th, set at both Zaloni Jar and Kangaroo Islands park run, and then my fastest times range from 22:32 down to 23:09. So 23:09 is the one which we are going to be looking to beat today, but how close are we going to get to it? And now we're at that part of the video which you have all been waiting for. So let's get down to event number 57 of Drage Reserve Park Run. And you can see it is pretty congested to start with here. There's a lot of people ahead of us and we're probably going to get stuck behind them once they hit that start button. But you can see it's also a beautiful day. Blue skies, not too warm either. The temperatures have dropped a lot here in South Australia, which makes it slightly nicer when going for our run. But we're going to be setting off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are off. The timer has started and already we're losing a little bit of time as we're walking to begin with, gently jogging now, but again we're not quite far enough towards the front where we should be. So unfortunately we are losing some time here right now as we overtake some people off to that right hand side, but hopefully we can start to pick up the pace. There's those public toilets which I was talking about, so they're literally a 5-meter walk from the start, so if you need the loo they are perfect for you. And we're now beginning to overtake people along this right, but you can see it's still pretty congested. So if you're a slower runner, do make sure to keep off to the left hand side unless you're overtaking, and then you can obviously go round to the right. But if you are enjoying this review so far, or you are finding it useful, I'd really appreciate it if you smash that like button just below, and also hit that subscribe button too if you are new. We've got plenty of park runs on the channel which you can watch and enjoy, and let me know down in the comment section below if there's anything you think I could improve on and how you think I will get on today. But we're now opened up a bit, so we're able to start overtaking some people, which is nice, and it is nice and flat too to begin with. So hopefully we should make some time up now because it's going to get a little bit hillier later on. So let's see how we get on over this first half kilometre. We're now about half a kilometre into the run and we've definitely picked up the pace as we're now running at around 4 minutes 35 to 4 minutes 30 pace, but we did lose a little bit of time at the start, so we're just trying to make up for that. So you can see the elevation is increasing in that bottom right hand corner, but it was pretty flat this section compared to what I thought it was going to be. We're just going to head now around that Felixstowe Reserve, so just a couple of bends to do, and then we're heading our way back towards where we started, and then that's when the undulation really hits. But if you want any more information on any of the elevation down in that bottom right hand corner or on my split times, then I'll leave a link to my Strava in the description below too, so you can go and check that out, and that has all of the information on all of the different park runs which I have done so far on this channel, which is now over 100, so I'm pretty happy with that. But we're now making our way around the Felixstowe Reserve, and hopefully we can make a little bit of time up from where we started at the start. 1 kilometre down and 4 kilometres to go. So we ran that first kilometre in a time of 4 minutes and 46 seconds. And it looks like the elevation's actually gone up by about 10 metres, which I didn't really notice on the day. So maybe it is hillier than I thought it was. But we're now going to be heading our way back towards the start. So hopefully we should be able to pick up the pace as the elevation should hopefully drop in just a moment. But you can see it's increasing quite a lot there down in that bottom right hand corner. But it's a beautiful day today. Blue skies running through the reserve is amazing too, and if you've ever done Lochiel Park Run, you're basically running along a very similar sort of reserve and along the river. So all you can hear in the background, all the birds, all the cockatoos, the galahs flying around, making as much noise as they can, cheering you on throughout this park run. But hopefully we can keep at this pace at the moment because we're going pretty quickly, and then hopefully we can get a pretty good time today. 1.5 kilometres into the run now, and we've completed the Felixstowe Reserve. So we're not going to have to head back there anytime soon, and we're now turning off to the left and back towards the start. So do make sure to keep left so you don't run into the slower runners and walkers on that right hand side, although I think most of them have probably done the loop by the time that I actually managed to get the whole way around. So this is maybe a slightly decline now as we head our way towards where we started. So it's quite a nice run at the moment, still going at about a 4-minute 45-second pace. So we're doing pretty well, especially when we usually aim for under 25 minutes. But today we're going to try for our fastest time possible, because I basically looked, it said it was flat, so I was like, oh, you know what, we're going to go for an Aussie PB today, because the last one we got was 25 minutes and 15 seconds set at Lochiel. So we thought, you know what, we can maybe get an Aussie PB today. But as you'll find out later on, it does get just that little bit more undulating. So we're heading back into that reserve, back towards where you can hear all of the birds and back past the start. 2 kilometres in and 3 kilometres to go. So we did that last one in a time of 4 minutes and 37 seconds. And there's all the volunteers there on that right-hand side cheering you on. And the finish funnel is just in front of us here too. But that was our quickest kilometre so far out of the 2. So we have managed to pick up the pace. But you'll notice now that we're going to head downhill underneath the Osmond Giles Bridge in just a second. So this is a nice little kilometre for kilometre 3, but then it just gets harder and harder as you go. So we're going to move in for the overtake right now, hopefully keep up at this pace for as long as we can, and then hopefully the hills won't be too difficult. So this is where the undulation begins. So you can kind of see it from the camera, but obviously it looks a lot harder / easier as you actually do the run. But we're making our way down. You can see the bridge is just there. So this is all downhill to begin with. And then once we get under the bridge, we have to go back up the other side. But it's a pretty cool park run, very pretty, and running along the river is very nice too. And we're currently sat in a position of around 30th. So doing pretty well, bearing in mind there are 260 runners there today. Half of the run down and the other half of the run to go. And you may have seen the elevation fluctuating. So we went all the way down to like 40 meters and then all the way back up to around 50 meters. So we gained 10 meters just up that first hill. But it looks like we are now coming up towards that second decline, which will then be going back up the other side. So you'll see in just a moment. 3 kilometres down and 2 kilometres to go. So we ran that one in a time of 4 minutes and 40 seconds. So slower than the previous kilometre, but faster than the first one. So it shows that this is just slightly downhill, which is quite nice. So you can pick up the pace a little bit. It's now on a flat sort of section around here, but we'll be heading straight back under another bridge very shortly. So there's 3 bridges in total, which you have to obviously cross 2 times. So in the end, you're going down and up 6 times. So you can see just how undulating this one does actually get. There's loads of parks too, and it's quite shaded with all the trees. So if you're there during the summer and it's getting really hot, this is probably a good one to do because it is nice and shaded. But hopefully we can keep up at this pace, not slow down too much. Otherwise we'll risk getting above 24 minutes, which we're aiming to beat today. So we're running at about a 4:50 right now, so we have slowed off a little bit, and you'll notice that kilometre 4 is probably going to be our slowest. So down we go under that final bridge, and you'll begin to notice too that people are on their way home on that right hand side, so do make sure to keep off to your left, as you don't want to obviously run into them. The light is destroying the camera footage right now, but we are through. So we're able to dodge these other runners on that right hand side. There's a buggy pusher there too, which is very impressive. But now we are about to do our U-turn. So I always find this slows my pace down loads. Once we hit a U-turn, it really does take it out of my legs. And then it's followed by an uphill, which I think is the reason why Lochiel is a lot quicker. So Lochiel Park Run, you do a U-turn and then you head your way downhill. So you're able to pick up your pace nice and easily. Whereas this one, you do the U-turn and then head your way uphill. But someone will have to let me know down in the comments whether you think the same, if you've done both of those park runs before, because I definitely find this one harder, and I think it might be just down to that U-turn that is the reason why I do find it just that bit more difficult. But we're now heading our way back towards where we started, which will be our finish line. So it's a little bit of an uphill battle to begin with. 4 kilometres down and 1 kilometre to go. So we ran that one in a time of 4 minutes and 58 seconds, which is actually our slowest kilometre so far, which I expected because this was probably the hardest bit with the most undulation. But it's a nice little bit of a flat section here before we head our way back down and up under the next bridge. But with just 900 meters to go, hopefully we can start to pick up the pace a little bit and maybe get under that 24-minute time. But you can see that the sun was blinding you for some sections of this course because you're running directly into where it was rising. With 500 meters to go, these climbs are definitely taken out of me and I can feel the lactic acid building in those legs. But we just need to hold on for this final 500 meters and then we can have a rest after. So with 300 meters to go, this bit felt painful, that last little climb towards that finish line. So we ran the last kilometre in a time of 4 minutes and 50 seconds. So it was slightly quicker than the previous kilometre, but I think that was because we were coming up toward the end, so I was able to push it just that little bit harder. You can see now we've made it towards pretty much the top and we've got about 200 meters to go. So I'll see you at that finish line. And here we go, we are heading now towards that finish line, picking up the pace as we go towards the 4 minute sort of pace, and we're turning off onto the grass and we get a time of 23 minutes and 38 seconds. So absolutely buzzing about that because I didn't expect to get as quickly as I did, especially with how hilly it was. So we are getting quicker and quicker each week. And that was our third fastest whilst being here in Australia, with Lochiel and Victor Harbour being the first two. But hopefully once we do hit a flat course, we might be able to get an even quicker time than that. We ended up in 27th position too, so I was pretty happy with that. But now let me take you through a quick summary of Drage Reserve Parkrun. Drage Reserve Parkrun complete, ticking off our first ever D on the alphabet here challenge, which leaves us with just 3 letters remaining, which is I, U and Y. So if you have any recommendations for those letters, then do make sure to let me know down in that comment section below. In terms of the scenery, as you saw, it is beautiful, very similar to the Lochiel Park Run. And in terms of whether you're going to get a PB or not, then I'd probably say no, because Lochiel is quicker than this one. However, this one is still a great one to do, and it is the newest one to do in South Australia. But before we do go into the pinch points, I'd like to say a massive thank you to all of the volunteers who were there on the day supporting us as we went around the park run, because without them, these park runs cannot go ahead. So thank you very much to them. And then now let's take a look at a couple of the pinch points. So these are the points which are going to slow you down and stop you from getting your PB at this park run. So pinch point number 1 is going to be the congested start. Obviously we got really held up at the start, so do make sure you get up to close towards the front if you are looking for your fastest time. Otherwise you may struggle and you may lose some seconds there. Pinch point number 2 is going to be the fact I think it's a bit undulating. So going up and down under the bridges definitely slows you down. It wasn't as flat as I was expecting it to be. And then pinch point number 3 is going to be the U-turn. So obviously this is going to take just a couple of seconds off your time, but straight after that U-turn, it is an uphill incline, which I think makes that U-turn even harder. But those are all of my pinch points, so do make sure to let us know down in the comment section below of any pinch points which you have if you have been to this park run. But now let's move into the tips and tricks section on how to get to this park run and where to go for that all important post park run coffee and cake. So we're going to start off with public transport. So unfortunately there is no way of getting there via train or tram, as both those options are just a little bit too far, so they're definitely not viable for this park run. But if you did want to get there via public transport, then I highly recommend getting the bus, as there is a stop just a 4-minute walk from the start, and that is called 16 OG Road. So it's nice and close to the start line, and it takes these buses, which you can see in the top corner. However, if I were you and you want to take public transport on the day, I'll just go onto Google Maps, look it all up, and it'll show you the fastest route of getting there. And then finally, if you're looking to get there via car, then it is simple. There is plenty of parking, which is a less than 5-minute walk from the start, and that is either at the Drage Reserve car park, where they've got plenty of bays. There was loads of room on the day that we went, or you can park on the Briar Briar Road, where they've got plenty of spots, and also Riverside Drive. Both of those roads are literally right next to the start too, and you can park on them. And then finally, where does everyone head for that all-important post-parkrun coffee and cake? Well, they all head over to the Archer and Alice Coffee and Treats, which is usually on the public car park at Drage Reserve, or they head over to the Pan-E Cafe, which is at 38 Briar Road, and it is about an 8-minute walk from that finish line, so not too far at all. You can just see on the day where everyone else goes, and you can follow suit if you'd like. So those are all of my tips and tricks, but if you are a local to this park run, then make sure to let us know of yours down in that comment section below, and I'll try and pin you up to the top so that everyone else can see them. But now, the all-important after-run stats. So where have we improved? Well, the number of park runs increases up to 104, and the number of locations increases to 80. In terms of my fastest times, it wasn't too far off of Grangemore, but still unable to beat that one from 2024. But hopefully, over the next few weeks, we can do a few flatter park runs and maybe get onto this leaderboard. But I do hope you all enjoyed Drage Reserve Parkrun, and if you did, I highly recommend going and checking out last week's, which was over at Nantuwama Parkrun, where we actually got to run alongside some horses. But again, it was a slightly hilly one and pretty difficult too. And if you have enjoyed this one, please do smash that like button and also subscribe if you are new, as 80% of you who are watching right now are not actually subscribed to the channel. So it'd mean a lot to me if you could hit that subscribe button, as we try and aim to hit 500 subscribers by my birthday, which is in June. Next week, I'm not sure where we're going to be heading, but it's probably going to be either Mount Barker or Parkingula. So hopefully one of those up near Mount Barker we are going to do. So I hope to see you all there with another parkrun video.